Nana is an interesting person in terms of not what people say about him, but what Nana did and the spirit of Nana. I first met Nana, I think, in the 70s as a young man, but it was in the 79 at African Liberation Day, which was held in this building, which I believe was the second largest African Liberation Day behind Birmingham. At the time, one of the leading figures in the PACM was Ron Phillips. And Nana, I learned afterwards, which I knew about from, I think in the late 60s, that a black person who was said to be a champion among us in the union, not among the Europeans, that he had taken them to court for the Printers Union and had won the case, and he was awarded a certain amount of money. I think it's about £7,000 or £8,000. Well, in those days, in the 60s, were money, that, as we all know. And it was then when I came to Manchester, I sort of met him and spoke to him. And it was then I realized who the person was. However, from that day, Nana and I seem to have been involved, because we were all involved in the African liberation struggle going back. He was from the 60s, I was in the 70s, met in the 80s. And to my surprise, Nana had said that Ron Phillips was like his mentor in politics. And we used to come to from Nottingham to Manchester on a regular basis. Most of the time we used to be at Withington Road, where we had the Pan-African Institute. At the time it was being set up through Ron Phillips and his wife, who died earlier on, Sister Ada, and so on, and Janet Barrett, and those are the people in Manchester. And Nana was sort of on the periphery in terms of the politics. He wasn't sort of the up-run figure, but he did a lot of work behind the scene. When Ron left, had to run away from the country because some rubbish with the chief constable, not in Anderton, I think his name was at the time, who had made it plain that if he didn't leave the city, he'd probably wind up a way to incarcerate him or even kill him. And he went back to Guyana, where he was given a minister job, as junior minister in the Burnham government, because Burnham is Philip's cousin, one of Ron's cousin. Nana stayed back, and I think at that point, Nana became projected more from behind forward. Nana was a member of the Pan-African Congress movement, and his role in Manchester was to organize the people of Manchester, not only those who were Pan-Africanists, but those who were not, for them to inspire them to become Pan-Africanists. And as one of the elders in the organization, Nana was like a guiding force of the organization. In many cases, if we take the advice Nana gave us, we're probably in a better position we're in. Because he looked at people and said, these people are not supposed to be in the movement because they're going to destroy the movement. And because we know we're friends and everybody else, we don't pay too much attention. Although we respect our elders. But we're young and, if we say we can do everything. But in terms of the movement throughout the country, Nana was a central figure. In Manchester, he was the central figure for at least 20 years. I'm thinking about from the 85 all the way up to when he died in 2003. And he was instrumental in having the second African Liberation Day held in Manchester. And note, since Nana died, it has not been held in Manchester. That shows the ability for Nana to organize and put things in order, things can get done. Nobody yet in Manchester has been able to organize African Liberation Day. That was the main platform, or the international platform for the Pan-African Congress movement. All the things like Marcus Garvey Day, Black Heroes Day, Black Earrings Day, Emancipation Day, those things was actually organized and developed through Nana. It was the central figures there. So it's difficult to say things about Nana, which in many cases people might believe not to be true. But he was never a person who wanted to be in the limelight. He was a person who would stay in the background more time and do the work. And the results we would see from the events we had, even the center. This center was almost at one time single-handedly held together by Nana. Because at one time everybody wanted to abandon it and in fact give it back to white people. So we don't have nothing. And Nana stood by it and made sure it continued and got young people like Hal and other people to come in to be part of it. Now it's gone, they're continuing the process. Not that everything is rosy, because the agents are still trying to come in to take it over on the basis that they're either too many Jamaicans in it or whatever, when it wasn't designed that way. The whole thing was got by the whole community. That was the way Nana thought. People of African descent, everybody was involved. Everybody had to be part of it, not just an individual or another island and so on. Because when you take Guyana, for example, none of the islands, Jamaica is not big as Guyana. Well, he's never referred to Jamaica as small island, but Jamaicans sometimes refer to other people as small. That's the kind of character you are. He was African-centric. Everything to do with Africa, he wanted. In fact, his name demonstrates the change of his name. Nana was offered, I think it was in the 90s or late 90s, as OB or MBE. He refused. And Nana's position was, it was inappropriate, embarrassing, and treacherous for him to accept an OBE or MBE, which is all to the British Empire, the same empire which has robbed and murdered and killed how many billions of our people in the last 400 years. That was his position. Nana's position was we had to do work to go back and liberate and own the land of Africa for our people, and not for any outsider who want to come and rob and steal it. The other position Nana had was all the heroes who gone before, like Kwame Nkrumah, Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, Marcus Garvey. They are the essential in our development. We have to understand that history, and that is what we draw strength and direction to go forward. Adding to what took place in our continent 5, 6, 7, 20, 30,000 years ago. That was Nana's position in terms of how we knit ourselves together. It's one of survival, culture, and power. That was Nana's position. Nothing else, he said, we as African people need to be looking at as being a serious thing for us to work towards in this world. I once heard Nana talk to a young person who was talking about they're on the high moral ground. And Nana simply said, yes, you are right. We are on a higher moral, spiritual ground than most race of people on the face of the earth. That is never our problem. Our problem is how you transfer that high moral ground to deal and for the material world to buy food, clothes, and shelter and security for our people. Everybody's trying to kill us, and we're trying to stick our head up everybody else's cultural ass and run after them, and yet we're not doing our own thing. I understand Nana was once criticized for in Manchester in 1940. Now, do you know the 5th Pan-African Congress in 1945? When we had African Liberation Day in Manchester, it was said that we were, racist or a breach of racial harmony, because it was the first African Liberation Day which we had when no other people come into the event but Africans. And it was in the paper, in the newspaper, I think the Caribbean Times took it up at one time, trying to explain why we did it. And Nana's position with Ron Phillips was, we don't need to explain to nobody when we're struggling for our survival. We cannot invite the enemy in our camps who's trying to kill us when they're trying to organize against the enemy. And before that, from 1975, when we had the first one in Nottingham, every time we had an African Liberation Day, there's always a problem. When the Europeans or Chinese couldn't come into this an African event, we've never had a problem, not even one problem all the years. So that demonstrates that their position is correct in terms of our survival. However, the Back to Africa movement was also supported by Nana from a point of view that it has to be done for something tangible development in Africa, similar to Marcus Garvey. So you could say Nana was a Garveyite, an Nkrumahite, Sojourner Truthite, or Harriet Tubmanite, or Paul Bogleite, or Malcolm Xite, even Martin Luther King. Because King, funny enough, as Mama used to explain, King wasn't just about religion. That's what they put forward. The only reason why King got shot or got killed is because King was questioning Why are our people going to Vietnam being killed, yet this Vietnamese know nothing to us? Why are we going to Vietnam to be killed, yet in America we're treated as third-rate human beings or three-fifths human beings? So the position wasn't about civil rights with Nana, it was about human rights, power, and culture. That was Nana's position all the time, right? When he died, there was a bit of concern I had when I said that they put Beres Edwards was on his gravestone, and I said it should not have been because he rejected Beres Edwards and put Nana Bonsu. But then family and some of the children didn't understand really what Nana was about, because some of our children don't, because they're involved in peer pressures and involved in society, and they think that in order to get on and to be, how can I put it, respect in this world, you have to have some African and predominantly black white culture in your midst. And Nana rejected that. What else can I say about Nana? What is happening in here today for Kwanzaa is part of the legacy which came and was developed and maintained through Nana. The fact the center exists today, we're in here today, is because of what Nana had to do at a given time and continued it until he died. The fact that young people who weren't around or weren't old enough to be involved in the struggle from the 60s and 70s are now in the building, now Nana have joined the ancestors, ensuring that it's here and can use for our community, that's the legacy. The other legacy is that as soon as we can work it out and take our backside out of this country and go back to Africa and the Caribbean and begin to give our healthy time to build those societies in Africa for our benefits, that's will be Nana's real legacy, because that's the thing Nana argued and fought for us on a better part of almost 50, 60 years. Because not known to some people, Nana was involved in struggle in Guyana as a young boy. And you're talking about probably 60 or so years of it. So that's the legacy, I would say, of Nana. But the legacy can only be realized if we as young people came behind the elders, take up the mantle of the elders and take it a step further. Okay. I don't know anybody who's never had a cold. Right. Never had a broken leg. Or had a tooth pulled. I have bad eyesight. Or had a haircut which didn't look good. Or wear a pair of shoes which didn't fit them. What I'm saying is, we don't have to ask the question that human beings don't have failings. That's a stupid question. We all know that human beings have failings. And if Nana didn't have failings, he would not be looked as in any way. I've left no legacy behind. Because it's when you correct the mistakes you have made in life, then you are worthy of part of the African culture. We can know part of everything, not everything. And each day we are in this world, we learn. If we don't make mistakes, if we don't have failings, then we haven't lived. Let me reflect on Southern Africa in the 60s when they were shooting our children on demonstration. They killed something, I think about 67 children, wounded about 100 and something people. Winnie Mandela's daughter almost got shot. The guy, the friend who was standing either next to her, a few children, who got shot and he died. Now, Winnie said, as far as she's concerned, we cannot no longer talk about peaceful demonstration that Nelson was talking about, even though he was in prison. She said, we need an armed struggle. Some people said she was domineering, she was forceful. Let me tell you something. If you think you can sit down among Europeans, the most vicious murdering people on the face of this earth, the most vicious liars on the face, and think you're going to be nice to them, you have to say to people, don't do that, draw the line. You cannot have any organization where people can come and do what they want to do. And then people say they're domineering. But watch, white people just do everything every day of the week and we take it. When we tell each other for our benefits, we're upset. And we call the names. When white people tell us to do things against our interests, we do it and we're happy. So I don't understand the word domineering. If you do not have power, you cannot be domineering. Simple as that. Somebody can tell me to do something, I don't have to do it. If I don't have the power to force them to do it, take away their food, clothes, and shelter, and abuse, and frighten the life out of them, I cannot be domineering. It's an impossibility. So the word doesn't come into it. He has to say he knew what he knew, and he told us what he knew the best way he can, and we weren't ready to accept it yet. So we say he's domineering.